So I am now sitting with Anshu Bhartia from India. We're in India.
Mumbai.
Mumbai. Okay, and you're doing fascinating work. As you know, we connected through SOCAP, which is the first time we've ever communicated. I immediately saw somebody I wanted to interview because you are deeply involved in social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, and I think the geography of social enterprise in India very well. So I want to talk about all that. But tell us, what is your organization and what do you do?
So we are a launchpad for change makers. We not only work with for-profit social enterprises. For us, a social entrepreneur is a person who's going to create change. You could have a model which is for-profit or not for-profit. As far as your intent is deeply solving a social problem that you are passionate about. And our role is to create passionate individuals into social entrepreneurs and their ideas into organizations. We've been working for 12 years, mostly in India, and concentrated in some geographies, but we have some exciting projects around the country.
What geographies in India are most active in?
So currently it's more Western India in Maharashtra and around, and now Delhi and about 10 hours train or road travel from there. So it covers some northern states of India and some western states.
Okay. And how many entrepreneurs have you worked with?
We worked with 236 entrepreneurs since we started. And I think I'm just super proud. I've joined this organization 2.5 years back, but 1 of 5 entrepreneurs are actually doing really, really well. They've gone to scale, they raise more money than we do, and they're doing a terrific job.
Wonderful. So what stage do you usually engage with an entrepreneur? Is it right at idea stage? Is it a little bit further along? And then how far do you take them?
So we start at an idea stage. We work only with early stage startups, so 0 to 5 years. You could be at an idea stage. You could be just registering an organization and building up or ready to scale. Our support, interestingly, is 1 year to 4 years, because when you come at an idea stage, your support is very different, whereas when you're scaling up. So we have a very customized solution for all our entrepreneurs, but under 5 years.
Interesting. And how about capital needs for these companies? Can you give an example or two of a kind of a prototypical or archetypal enterprise, and where they're finding their first funding and subsequent funding, and what role you're playing in that, if any?
Sure. So like I said, we work with 2 types of organizations, for-profits and not-for-profits. Right, so the for-profits, the route is grant philanthropic money. Let me take the example of Cuddles Foundation. Works with nutrition for children with cancer in low-income households. So they work in hospitals, which are government hospitals, which treat cancer. And actually, cancer is treatable with kids, provided they have the right nutrition, because chemotherapy is very gut lining heavy. It impacts the gut. And it started as a simple conversation, and it's become a large organization. Today, they're more than $1 million annual revenue, grant money, and they actually provide nutrition advice as well as the actual nutrition to the children. So they largely depend on corporates, individual giving, and I'm actually really impressed to see that people want to give for causes like this. While treatment was earlier what you'd easily identify with, but people understand the importance of nutrition, so she's obviously done a good job. So that entrepreneur came to us at an early stage when she was starting off with the idea. And today, 6 years hence, it's $1 million plus annual budget. So that's in the not-for-profit side. So we would have helped her with the problem solution fit, with the business planning. Even today, we are talking to, though she's out of our program technically because she's really big, but we're still looking at budgeting, financial planning, managing all the compliances around finance. So that could be one type of support. The other is for-profit social enterprises. So let's say you've Greenway Grameen was a very early stage startup making cooking stoves in India. Now, cooking stoves, everybody knows. Clean energy, everybody knows. But it was one of the few organizations which was creating a technology for India in India. And they have grown really big. So again,
were they Indian entrepreneurs?
Yes, the 3 Indian entrepreneurs who came together. And yeah, they were able to, again, we helped them with their initial business planning, financial planning, business strategy. And today they've been able to raise seed funds and Series A as well.
I found it interesting that there was a report I read in the last year that it discussed how much or what the percentage of outside funding or venture capital investment that is going to businesses serving Indian populations, but that are the founders, the founding teams are American or European and not from India. And it was a very high percentage and a little dismaying that there wasn't more capital flowing to that. So you're playing, sounds like you're playing a really crucial role to not only nurturing these Indian entrepreneurs, but also helping to get that capital flowing to them.
Yeah, so you know what, honestly, we're doing our bit, but entrepreneurship and investing in India is more newer a phenomena. It started with Silicon Valley. So there's a lot of money for Indian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Of course, we all know that, right? But so one is enterprise model, then it's social impact, right? So first social impact developed here. But it's interesting, the fund sizes in India for impact investing are growing incredibly, and we are a good pipeline builder. And that's what we are focusing on.
Fascinating. What is your website address?
Unlimited UNLTD India INDIA.org.
One last question that came up. You mentioned grant monies that support the kind of the nonprofit social entrepreneurs that you're dealing with. Here in the States, there is a growing movement. It's not going anywhere fast enough for my own taste, but it's happening. And there's some good models of foundations taking the lead, whether it be Heron Foundation or MacArthur Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, or Midyar, which are thinking in a kind of more integrated, what I would call an integrated finance approach, where grant funding is kind of integrated with or brought under the same strategy umbrella with debt and equity and kind of private capital, to create a kind of more nuanced and hopefully sophisticated and effective funding continuum for for-profit early stage companies. Are you seeing that in India?
Yes, in fact, in India, we have something called the Corporate Social Responsibility Bill, which allows, which is mandatory for companies with X turnover, X revenue to give 2% of their profit into philanthropy. And so earlier it was pure vanilla philanthropy, but now the government is actually looking at how it can become integrated capital, which gets into equity. So while social enterprises need both the grant, the debt, and the equity, all three, and different, because people think equity is the easiest form of capital. Actually, it's an expensive form of capital. So I think early stage startups could do with a grant. But I do like the idea that there are a lot of work that requires only philanthropic capital. A not-for-profit world, because the bottom of the pyramid can't access services which are available. So some grant money should stay for pure philanthropy, and some integrated blended finance is very important for social enterprises to succeed, because it's long gestation. They work with markets which are underdeveloped. That market building and awareness itself takes a lot of capital, or even the pilot testing. So I think, yeah, the blended money is really critical in that continuum.
So last question, you're here at SOCAP. Is it your first time at SOCAP? What do you kind of connections are you hoping to make here?
So I'm looking at making connections with accelerators, other accelerators, and with larger foundations which are looking at this blended capital continuum to see how we can fit in well. And like you said earlier, India is still a smaller market. So how to talk more about our work and create a more integrated model which go to scale.
Great. Anshu, thank you very much for spending time with me. Great.